Picture this, you're standing in the heart of Warsaw. It's 1989, the air is thick with soot and resignation. You're carrying stacks of cash, millions of zlotys, and none of it matters. Bread is unavailable, meat is a rumor. Store shelves are bare. Concrete blocks loom in dull gray. The economy isn't failing. It's already dead. If someone told you that 3 decades later this same place would outrank Portugal in wealth, chase down the United Kingdom, and power Europe's industrial spine, you'd laugh them out of the room. You'd assume they were drunk. Yet that's exactly what unfolded. When Europe collapsed during the 2008 financial meltdown, Poland didn't just endure, it advanced. They called it the Green Island. But the path there wasn't a bedtime story. It was harsh, ruthless, a case study in economic survival at knife point. This is how Poland outplayed the West at its own system. First, the freeze and burn maneuver, the experiment that kills an economy to resurrect it. Most governments patch a broken system with minor tweaks, a small tax adjustment, a subsidy. Poland chose amputation, then cauterization. Enter Leszek Balcerowicz, the name matters. In 1989, as finance minister, he surveyed an economy hollowed out by decades of Soviet decay and concluded there was no gentle fix. It needed a jolt strong enough to restart a corpse. Thus, shock therapy was born. The Balcerowicz plan, here's the backdrop. Communism exited, leaving wreckage behind. Inflation was running at 640%. Think about that. You're paid in the morning. By lunch, your money is worth half. The state was printing cash like napkins, ironically, because actual napkins didn't exist in stores. The plan was brutally simple. Everything, all at once. January 1st, 1990, no fine-tuning, no easing in. The rules of reality were rewritten. Price controls vanished. Bread prices were no longer dictated by a man in a gray office. Markets took over, prices detonated overnight. Subsidies were cut. State factories that had produced useless debris for decades were told to survive or die. Most died. Borders opened. Trade flooded in. The immediate result was disorder. Imagine being a Polish laborer in 1990. Yesterday, your factory job was guaranteed forever. Today, it's bankrupt. You're unemployed. Bread costs a week's pay. It was savage. The economic equivalent of quitting heroin cold while sprinting uphill. Joblessness exploded. 20% unemployment in some regions. People sold personal belongings on sidewalks to eat. It was the Wild East. Criminal networks moved fast. Fraud was everywhere. Streets were dangerous. And then the twist. It worked. While neighbors Ukraine in particular chose gradual reform to soften the pain, Poland absorbed the hit immediately. Look at the numbers. In 1990, Ukraine's GDP per capita exceeded Poland's. Ukraine was richer. Today, Poland's economy is triple the size. By tearing off the bandage, Balcerowicz crushed hyperinflation. Within 2 years, stores were stocked. Not by decree, by profit. For the first time in half a century, selling things made sense. Shock therapy created a population without a safety net. 2 options remained, grind or starve. They chose grind. The trauma welded the country into an aggressive capitalist engine. Faith in government rescue evaporated. Millions of small businesses emerged from necessity. While Western Europe relaxed into bureaucracy, Poland forged an economy under extreme pressure. The cost was real. Abandoned towns, alcoholism, fractured families. But the groundwork was laid. The real test came later, when the rest of the world fell apart. Second, the Green Island anomaly. How to ignore a global collapse. Fast forward to 2008, you remember it. Lehman imploded. Housing disintegrated. Greece put its assets on clearance. The U.S. printed money to keep the lights on. The global financial system had a breakdown. Every EU nation entered recession. Germany, France, Italy, the UK. Except one, Poland. Its economy grew by roughly 2.8%. How did a former basket case dodge the worst crash since the Great Depression? Not luck alone, paranoia, plus timing. First, paranoia. The scars of the 1990s made Polish bankers obsessively cautious. While American banks handed mortgages to anyone breathing, Polish banks under the KNF regulator played defense. Low private debt, no toxic instruments, utterly dull. In 2008, dull was lethal in a good way. Second, currency. Poland rejected the euro. This decision was decisive. When the crisis hit, the zloty fell hard against the euro. Tourists suffered. Exporters rejoiced. Polish goods became 30% cheaper overnight. Cash-strapped European consumers abandoned expensive domestic products and bought Polish alternatives. The zloty absorbed the shock. While Greece and Spain were trapped inside the euro's straitjacket, unable to devalue, Poland floated through on a wave of exports. There was another layer. Donald Tusk's government poured money into infrastructure, partially funded by EU grants. Roads, stadiums, Euro 2012 projects. Employment stayed high. While jobs vanished in London and Madrid, workers in Krakow got raises. This was the moment Poland stopped feeling poor and started looking prepared. Quick pause. Did you live through 2008? Were you in Poland? Or did you watch your retirement evaporate elsewhere? Drop it in the comments. I read them. Especially the ones telling me I'm wrong about the zloty. And while you're there, subscribe. We're dissecting the global economy one anomaly at a time. You'll want the episode on why your rent is insane. Now back to the factory floor. Third, the China of Europe strategy executed properly. Drive the German Autobahn today. Watch the trucks. Every third plate reads place. Poland became Europe's workshop. China builds for the world. Poland builds for Europe. Shipping from Shenzhen takes 40 days. Shipping from Wrocław takes 4 hours. Here's the masterstroke. Poland didn't compete on cheap labor, it competed on sophisticated labor. Imagine you're running Volkswagen or Mercedes, you need engines, seats, dashboards. German workers demand high wages, short weeks, long vacations. Across the border 1 hour away, Polish workers wait. Highly trained, technical degrees, a culture wired to finish the job. Post-communist urgency, and they cost a fraction. This wasn't low-end labor, it was high-grade labor at a discount. Poland embedded itself into Germany's supply chain so deeply that economists joked Poland was Germany's subcontractor. White goods tell the story. Washing machines, dishwashers, refrigerators by Bosch or Whirlpool and Europods came from Poland. The country became the EU's largest white goods producer. Special economic zones followed. Build here, no taxes for 10 years. Corporations flooded in, Amazon warehouses, Google campuses, JP Morgan back offices, the dark irony. This success was carried on the backs of workers logging brutal hours. 500 extra hours, 1/3 the pay. Poland outworked the West. Longer, harder, cheaper, it became indispensable. If Poland stopped tomorrow, German industry would cease by Tuesday, but effort means nothing without infrastructure. Which brings us to the most contentious wealth transfer in modern history. Fourth, the Golden Reign. On May 1, 2004, Poland entered the EU. Before that, driving across Poland was extreme sport. No highways, single-lane death roads. 10 hours to cross 500 kilometers. Then came cohesion funds. Rich states funding poorer ones to stabilize the system. No one extracted this money better than Poland. From 2004 to 2020, Poland received roughly $127 billion net. Current budgets push it toward Marshall Plan scale. Imagine a wealthy uncle renovating your collapsing house on conditions. Poland accepted and optimized. The money went into infrastructure. Over 4,000 kilometers of highways, urban renewal, sewage, agriculture modernization, transport times halved. Speed became profit. Poland's rise from economic ruin to a European powerhouse is a story of shock, risk, and bold transformation. In 1989, the country's economy was effectively dead. Inflation ran at 640%, stores were empty, and state-owned factories churned out useless goods. The communist legacy left Poland with a shattered financial system. Enter Leszek Balcerowicz, finance minister, and the architect of shock therapy. Also known as the Balcerowicz Plan, he immediately removed price controls, cut subsidies, and forced inefficient companies to sink or swim. Unemployment skyrocketed, people sold belongings to survive, and chaos reigned. It was brutal economic heroin cold turkey, but it worked. Poles embraced risk and entrepreneurship. They had no safety net, only two options: hustle or starve. Millions of small businesses emerged, forming the foundation of a resilient, hyper-capitalist economy. While Western Europe became comfortable and bureaucratic, Poland forged its future through necessity, discipline, and adaptability. By the mid-2000s, Poland was ready for a new phase. Leveraging its educated workforce and STEM graduates from the communist era, it pivoted from heavy industry to technology. CD Projekt Red, creators of The Witcher and Cyberpunk 2077, symbolized this digital leap. Polish programmers, skilled and cost-effective, attracted Western companies like Google, Samsung, Intel, and global banks. Poland built research and development hubs, not call centers, and leapfrogged outdated banking systems with innovations like BLIK, enabling instant six-digit mobile payments. The result was a new middle class, young engineers and artists buying Warsaw apartments, fueling domestic consumption. Heavy industry stagnation was bypassed. Poland jumped straight into digital services, yet this rapid growth exposed divides. Poland urban, wealthy, liberal. Poland rural, conservative, fading. The political tension created by these disparities is now a defining feature of modern Poland. Demographics present another challenge. Fertility rates are near 1.26, far below the replacement rate of 2.1. Years of shock therapy, delayed family formation, and emigration led to a brain drain. 2 million Poles left for the EU post-accession, taking vital labor and skills. The government attempted incentives like 500+ and 800+ payments for children, but birth rates barely budged. To sustain growth, Poland imported labor from Ukraine, Belarus, India, Nepal, and the Philippines, transforming an ethnic state into a multi-ethnic society. Poland's stability has become a selling point. Low crime rates, safe streets, and predictable governance attract investment and returning talent. IT specialists from Western Europe are relocating to Poland, while the middle-class quality of life in cities like Gdańsk rivals Western capitals. Stability, not just wealth, became the country's strategic advantage. Infrastructure, funded by EU cohesion funds, played a critical role. Between 2004 and 2020, Poland received around $127 billion from the EU, modernizing roads, expressways, stadiums, and urban areas. Logistics efficiency lowered costs for domestic producers, boosting competitiveness against Germany and other EU nations. Polish agriculture also modernized, enabling food exports like mushrooms and poultry. German tax euros indirectly funded Poland's export machine, a striking example of economic judo. Poland became Europe's workshop. Its workforce, highly skilled and inexpensive, integrated into German supply chains, producing engines, car seats, white goods, and industrial machinery. Special economic zones attracted global companies like Amazon, Google, and J.P. Morgan, cementing Poland's role as a production and innovation hub. Average Polish workers logged around 1,800 hours per year compared to Germany's 1,300, demonstrating dedication and endurance that drove the economic miracle. Cyberpunk and tech innovation extended Poland's competitive edge. The country bypassed traditional heavy industry and embraced digital services, fintech, and software development. Banking apps in London and New York often run on code written in Warsaw or Krakow. Poland's programmers are culturally aligned with Western businesses, enabling seamless integration and high productivity at lower costs. Poland's strategic positioning extends to defense. Since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022, Poland has ramped up military spending, building Europe's strongest land army, procuring tanks, F-35 fighter jets, and Apache helicopters. Over 4% of GDP is now devoted to defense, more than NATO requirements and even higher than the U.S. This investment fuels domestic arms production, technology transfer, and skilled jobs. Poland also became Ukraine's logistical hub, transforming Rzeszów Airport into critical infrastructure. The geopolitical center of gravity in Europe is shifting east, with Poland assuming a pivotal role. Yet challenges remain. The middle income trap threatens progress. Wages have risen, cities are expensive, and the cheap labor advantage is fading. Poland must innovate to transition from middle class to wealthy. Imitation alone won't suffice. Some projects succeed, like Solaris electric buses and InPost parcel lockers, while others, such as the National Ave Initiative AZER, falter. Poland's success stems from ambition and resilience. While Western Europe grew cautious and bureaucratic, Poland embraced change, stayed hungry, and maximized opportunity. The psychological shift is key. Young Poles no longer aspire to be German or American, they aim to make Poland competitive, safe, and prosperous. The Green Island miracle was not luck. Conservative banking, EU funds, infrastructure, skilled labor, technological innovation, and military readiness created a resilient, diversified economy. Poland survived the 2008 financial crisis, outperformed neighbors, and positioned itself as a rising power in Europe. Still, complacency looms. Demographics are grim, political divisions persist, and continued innovation is essential. To maintain growth, Poland must pass the final boss of economic development, sustaining technological innovation, managing population decline, and moving from middle income to high income status. Poland's story is a blueprint for economic resilience. From shock therapy and hyper-capitalist survival to tech innovation, EU integration, and strategic military positioning, the country demonstrates how disciplined risk-taking, adaptation, and ambition can transform a nation. Economies rise and fall. Western dominance is not permanent. Poland shows that mindset, strategic planning, and perseverance can create miracles in a single generation. In conclusion, Poland leveraged adversity into opportunity. Shock therapy, EU funds, infrastructure, digital innovation, and defense readiness turned a near-bankrupt state into Europe's rising star. The lessons are clear: embrace risk, invest in people and infrastructure, and maintain ambition. Momentum is key. The future depends on passing the next stage of growth while avoiding stagnation, demographic decline, and complacency. Poland's journey is a testament to strategy, resilience, and vision, a modern economic miracle.